Welcome to Unlearning with Laura, the podcast where you get to rewire your mind, reclaim your power, and break generational cycles. I'm Laura Stiles, clinical hypnotherapist and mindset coach, and founder of The Mindful Generation, the place where parents come to transform their lives and live with more purpose and freedom. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Mother Cup of Tea, a gorgeous range of herbal blends designed to support women's hormone health, energy and well-being. Honestly, they are like a hug in a cup. You can grab 25% off their wellness collection using the discount link in the show notes and the code MINDFUL25. Before we dive in, just a gentle reminder, if you're enjoying the podcast, please hit follow, like, subscribe or share it with a friend. It makes such a huge difference for a small business owner like me, and it helps this podcast to reach more mums who need it. Today, we are going to speak to Becky Stanton. Becky's a mindset and energy coach for female business owners that have ambitious visions for success, yet they get in their own way. She believes in a holistic approach to empowerment, focusing on our mind, nervous system and energy. She's a mindset coach and a practitioner in EFT tapping, hypnosis, breathwork, sound healing and galactic Reiki. I think you're going to love this one. Here we go. Welcome, Becky, to the podcast. I am so excited to have you on today. This has been a long time coming. And yeah, we've been talking about you coming to my house. We've been talking about cafe meetups because you're local to me. And we finally are getting to have this chat. So welcome.
Thank you, Laura. I'm so excited to be here with you finally.
Yeah, it's lovely. I want to start by asking you we were just having a chat there offline about new motherhood, and you've got a little boy who is at nursery and he's 10 months. Is that correct? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how you're getting on with new motherhood and, you know, that transition to kind of juggling that with nursery and your business.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big topic, isn't it?
It is.
I would say it's been a lot easier than I thought it would be, but I think that's because I had a lot of fear, and I'm sure this is a whole different podcast conversation, but my conception journey was quite long and challenging, and actually it was energy healing that I believe helped me conceive. And it was very much a journey for me around the fear. I had a lot of things similar to self-sabotage that we were talking about, of things blocking me. So I think by the time that little baby arrived, I just found it so much more enjoyable and not easy, definitely not easy, but more easeful than I ever imagined it to be, which was really beautiful for me, because I think my fears were very much, this is going to disrupt my life. You know, I've manifested everything that I wanted. This is going to interrupt that flow. I believe I'm a bit neurodivergent. It's like, I can just about look after myself. How can I look after a little one?
Yeah.
How to deal with that much responsibility, which again can come up in self-sabotage and like business. So there was so much fear. And then actually, you know, maternal instincts kicked in, and it just felt so, again, easy is not the right word, but it just felt right and energetically easeful.
Yeah.
To become a mum. Yes, I feel like the actual shift into motherhood was a good one for me. Obviously newborn, the only way I could describe it to you was, it's so wild. Everyone like, how are you? Like, this is wild. This is, again, being a mindset coach, I didn't want to affirm this is awful, this is horrible. Yeah. So like, I was really choosing my words carefully, and it just felt like this wild roller coaster. But equally, as all mums know, there's moments that just so beautiful, so magical, they almost diminish the harder parts. So I personally didn't have any
PTSD.
PTSD.
Sorry, postnatal.
I nearly said PTSD.
Postnatal. Well, I suppose it probably is a bit. Yeah, postnatal depression.
I personally didn't experience that. So I think for me, like, hormones are still wild. But yeah, I feel like motherhood's been quite a nice thing for me to experience. But my partner's also in the military. He's now away for 6 months. He also had the first 6 months of Bodhi's life off as shared parental leave, so he was around. So I had a lot of support. So I kind of like had I feel like a very unique introduction to motherhood. And then I'm straight into solo parenting. But I'm so grateful for the first 6 months where I was able to regulate myself and look after myself so that
Yeah.
I could kind of manage this season we're in now, where it is all on me. All my fears came true, but it is all on me. It is a complete life shift, but I was equipped to deal with it.
Yeah, that's so many things I want to ask just from that one answer. I'm going to probably work backwards because I really want to ask you a little bit about, first of all, the fact that your husband had the 6 months off. Is that something that you get to do in the military? Can you have up to 6 months? Is it full pay if you're a dad or?
Hey, yeah, really, really
Mm.
great. Yeah, so he had 6 months full pay. And because I'm self-employed, the idea was that I would come back into work, but that was a bit more challenging. Actually, I was still healing from childbirth.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily ready to come back to work. But yeah, we decided to do that because we knew he'd be away for 6 months. Time for him to really bond with Bodhi and connect.
That's so nice that you had the opportunity to share that out in that first 6 months. I think that is something every parent should get to, every couple should get to experience, because it is really hard when they go back after 2 weeks and you're like, oh, okay, now I have to try and cope with this and I'm exhausted and I'm not able to feed properly and I've got mastitis and all the rest of it. It can be so hard, can't it?
I think it was more challenging for him. I think there's a lot for, the masculine energy being in this nurturing role. I think it
Mm,
was like really a big growth lesson for him
yeah, definitely.
to share the responsibilities in that way. So there were definitely challenges with it. It wasn't like absolutely easy, but it was just magical. Like I look back at that time, like we went away to America for a whole month.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. I remember, yeah, that must have been really magical and fun. And how old would Bode have been then? Was that?
4 months, 5 months.
Yeah, it's nice when they are very little and you can do a trip. Like we did a road trip around France when when my eldest was 6 months. It was almost because I was exclusively breastfeeding. And the French roads are great. Like you can stop so much along the French like motorways, and there's always a family friendly place to stop and feed. We actually found it easier than if I was to do that now. I think it'd be so much harder because they just want more entertaining and stuff. It's nice that you guys got to do that.
And I just feel like so many like beautiful memories were made. I think Bodhi travelled more in the first 6 months than I did up to like 18.
Mm.
So what a nice little welcome to the world he received.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, good for you. And you also mentioned there in your introduction that you feel like you might be a little bit neurodivergent. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think motherhood or parenthood in general, because I guess this would affect men as well. But when you become a parent, and this might not be the case for you because obviously Bode is still very little, but for me, I've learned through my eldest and him being highly sensitive. Oh my gosh, I'm highly sensitive and going on a big journey with like self-awareness around that. But in recent months, actually probably in the last year or so, I've been really getting curious about actually maybe it's more like I'm on the spectrum, maybe it's the autism spectrum. There's a lot of parts of my behaviors, and like when I think about when I was young and masking and when the way that things drain me, I'm starting to go on a little bit of a journey with that and really deep dive into like, I don't know, do I get a diagnosis? Will that help me? I'm not sure. But what's your situation?
Very similar. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more information about it. And we do see there's a lot of neurodivergence in self-employed business owners because, we kind of suffer under the structure and the rigidity of other jobs and responsibilities. And we explore that freedom. We take the risk because we'd rather be feeling safe in that freedom. And but for
Absolutely.
me, it's looking back at childhood, and there's so many signs, school reports, never reaching your full potential, very distracted, very chatty,
Yeah.
distracting everyone else. I also lived in chaos, like my bedroom, like you couldn't see the floor where everything was. So there
Mm,
was very much this like chaotic way of being, but I felt safe in that.
that's interesting. Is that ADHD more than autism? Because, or is it
I
anything?
think I've seen ADHD. If I'm honest, I personally haven't chosen to like go down the diagnosis route.
Yeah.
And I think because it's not affecting my life so negatively, I need to. But I do feel with motherhood, it kind of has expanded the symptoms for
Yes,
sure.
it does. Because you're more out of control, aren't you? There's so many things you can't help.
You don't have, like, for me, I became, rituals were my way of like regulating myself. I don't have a whole Sunday, just like self-care.
Yeah, I love that.
Possible right now, and that's okay. There's a different ways of doing it, but that was how I kind of would like support myself. And then there's this little thing that requires that to be the priority, and you don't look after yourself as much, especially in the early days. That's just not possible to put yourself first. And so I noticed that where I wasn't looking after myself, the symptoms were getting more and more. And I think it also, for me, it's very much around my nervous system being dysregulated. You know, when I am in those states of dysregulation, then I tend to have more of the symptoms. And I think for me, I'm a very curious person. I'm always like, is it ADHD or am I dysregulated? And that's not to discredit anyone else that has the ADHD diagnosis. I think everyone's along that spectrum, right? But for me, I feel like when I'm looking after myself, when I'm regulated, it doesn't affect my life as much. And as a mum, not looking after myself in the same way, different ways. I am looking after myself, but it can't be Sunday's self-care day.
Yeah, you might have to switch up that day now that he's in nursery. Move it to a weekday where you know you can have self-care.
As a business owner as well, there's always something to do, right? And that's where I'm at now, kind of figuring out that balance of everything. And I haven't sorted it, but I think also as a mum, are you always kind of seeking that balance? Is
Yeah,
balance a
totally.
myth?
Balance, oh yeah, I have to say, it is a bit of a myth when especially when they are so little. However, I think you've just hit the nail on the head talking about like just really trying to prioritize it, carve out time for it. I love the idea of self-care Sundays, but if that has to shift days or you just pepper it throughout the week instead whilst he's at nursery, I guess it's just finding little pockets of time where you are regulating. And that's exactly what I feel like I've needed to do since becoming self-employed. It's like, okay, now I know I can manage myself, but I have to be strict with, every day. My little routine, like ritual, is before the school run every day, I will listen to, if it's not a short meditation, if it's like 10 minutes, then that's cool. But usually I'll try and prioritize at least half an hour to either listen to a hypnosis or a meditation or even have like a power nap, just so that I'm regulated, ready for if they have any meltdowns after school or anything, then I know that I'm not going to be in a bad place to deal with it. So, yeah.
And I think where I've been solo parenting as well, like before I'd be like, right, hubby, here's baby, I'm gonna go do a meditation. And a little black bird has just come right by my window. I feel that's a sign.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
ADHD. Yeah, so being alone and literally, weekends and where he's been ill and not in nursery, there is no space. And you know what it's like when babies are ill, they're clingy. So it's back to contact naps and things where I literally would have no space. So it's about finding ways to ground myself while I'm with him. And that's as simple as breath work. He's crawling, he's climbing, he's close to walking. So, like, when I'm with him and he's in independent play, I'm doing my breath work.
Yeah.
I'm affirming beautiful things to him and beautiful things to myself. When I put him to bed and we were contact napping, I was grounding myself. I was doing the roots and doing my own meditation, grounding to the earth. We go and play straight on the grass and just feel the earth. So there's lots of little micro moments
Yeah.
that are the same as a self-care Sunday, right? They really are, because you're consistent. Instead of just one day a week, you're consistently grounding and connecting and releasing. And I think that is a credit to how I am okay. Right now I am okay. Like, how are you? Like, are you surviving? It's like, I'm better than survival. I do feel like I'm okay. And it's all of these ways of regulating yourself.
Yeah, I love that. This is going to be really helpful for the listeners because I think there are, even if there's listeners who have, children who are a bit older, mine are 8 and 6 now. And yeah, it's just finding those little moments. And I love the whole, grounding, visualizing roots going into all of these little things we can do and just being mindful of our internal language. I love what you said earlier about the sort of affirming your language and making sure you're not saying like, oh, this is going to be hard or this is going to be this. It's just finding the right words to make it to energetically bring in something that you know is going to be more manageable than rather than sabotaging. So I think that brings us quite nicely onto self-sabotage. You are a mindset queen, and I love that you're into the energetics, law of attraction, and that kind of like spiritual side that you bring into your work is what I love about your work and what you do. So let's talk a little bit about self-sabotage and what is it? And we'll start with what is it?
So self-sabotage is essentially when, especially as business owners, we have this vision, we have this desire of what we want our life and our business to look like, but our actions, our behaviors, our way of being is it's like disconnected, it's out of alignment with that vision. And that's why it's self-sabotage. It's understanding that actually the way we are being, our behaviors, our choices, our actions, our inactions, the way we're talking about ourselves, the way we're talking about the industry we're in, all of those things, we're actually sabotaging what's possible for us. And I always say to clients, the good news is that you're doing it to yourself. It doesn't feel good news. But actually, when you realize that actually you're in control of it on some level, you can also shift it and change it. And so how I like talk clients through it is understand there's 3 levels of self-sabotage. We've got our subconscious mind, which is like the operating system that is programmed into believing certain things. It's also programmed around your identity and how you see yourself. That is ruling like 95% of our behaviors and ways of being, right? Unconsciously, we're showing up in the world based on what that operating system tells us to do. Yeah. And that's programmed, as we know, from a very young age, but also like throughout your years, you're just building stronger and stronger beliefs based on your experiences. We've got the nervous system, which is almost like this internal alarm system. It's understanding what is the norm, what feels safe, what feels normal for you. So when we are being more ambitious and setting these visions, it tends to go above that norm. And that's when the fight, flight, freeze, fawn responses come in, right? Of kind of like the alarm. I call it the safety police, like the safety police alarm. Yeah. It's like, no, this is scary. This is wrong. Let's bring us back down. So even when like you have all the desire and you start to take action, you have this kind of stop-start energy because it's bringing you back down to safety. And then energetically, like you said, I truly believe in our energy system too. And that's essentially just a mirror of what our mind and our nervous system is saying and doing. And that's the energy we're transmitting out, like a Wi-Fi system, right? You can be saying all your affirmations. You could be like saying, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready for more. I'm ready to be really successful, more successful than ever. I'm ready for my bank to be an overflow. But then if your mind and your nervous system are actually saying, rah, 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 no, we're not ready, that's actually the energy you're emitting and transmitting like out to the world. Yeah. And with law of attraction, that's also what you're bringing back in. Like that's what you're expecting back in. So self-sabotage is working on those 3 levels, really.
Yeah, I love how you've separated it into 3. It's quite easy to remember. There's 3 different elements to it. Okay, and how does it show up for female business owners?
Yeah, there's many ways. And I think for many of us, we are ambitious, right? It's why we are business owners, neurodivergent or not, right? We have these like big plans for ourselves. And like what tends to happen for us is procrastination and avoidance. And it can be really subtle as well. Like it's not like this big song and dance where like I'm procrastinating, la la la, I know what I'm doing. It's really subtle. And your mind is telling you it's logical, right? So it might be that you have this idea for this new offer or this new way of doing your business, or even just this new level of success, right? I'm currently at 5K months. I'm ready for 10K months, right? You have this new idea. And then you just notice that you're not actually actioning it. You're not showing up for it. Maybe you're starting and maybe you're not getting the validation back or you're not seeing any change. So you come back down to not operating at that same level. So it's kind of this procrastination, this avoidance, or this stop-start energy. Perfectionism, actually maybe you're planning, you're organizing it, you're in Canva, right? You're doing all the things, but you're not actually posting it and talking about it and sharing it. Or if you are, you do one post and you ghost because you're in a binder.
That one really resonates because I think I did a lot of that in the beginning of my business journey. Lots of Canva faffing, not much actual sharing. I shared it once and I was like, this is going to get me clients. And just so like naive.
And that's so natural, right? And then because that's new, right? As a whole new arena you are coming into. And when it's not validated, it just sparks that belief of, oh, for me, mine's like, no one likes me, I'm not good enough. Right. So whatever it is within your subconscious mind, this belief system usually comes back to worthiness, like self-worth with self-sabotage, right? We all have a part of ourselves, whether it's imposter syndrome or just not fully believing ourselves or not seeing ourselves as that successful identity. It just sparks that. And then that has a ripple effect through our nervous system, through our action, through our beliefs, through our energy. And so it tends to just be this disconnect between what you're saying you want and actually what you're showing up for on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, just to jump in and talk about the self-worth. That one is a big one that I see with my clients who are not always necessarily business owners, but mothers who are just trying to do better, reach their goals. And a lot of it, I would say probably 90% of the time comes back to that self-worth piece. That is a big one, isn't it?
It really is. And I know that you work with children and that you have the same training as me of understanding how the brain and the subconscious mind is formed in those early years. And it does come back to that, our experiences from a young age and our attachments. And yeah, I feel like a lot of us now are just relearning how to see ourselves. And that requires us to really navigate self-sabotage because everyone self-sabotages. I have clients at the beginning of their journeys, and I have clients who are, multi-six-figure, business owners. Every level allows the subconscious mind, the nervous system, and the energy to come back into fear.
Yeah.
Not experienced, it's not known. And it does ultimately come back to how you're seeing yourself, and that self-worth, that self-image and identity work is so powerful.
It's so key, isn't it? And I love that you have got these like multi-six-figure clients that you're working with who it's like new level, new devil, isn't it? They want to reach the next step, but they've got the same issues as someone who is possibly earning something that is at the very beginning of their business journey. And it's always the same kind of issues. And I guess this is what I find really interesting about it. It's almost like just embodying, I guess you like going back to the energetics. Is a lot of it to do with embodying and like kind of teaching your nervous system that it's safe to step into that new version of you? Is that a lot to do with it?
So I have a framework called SAFE. So S is seeing the pattern, like it all starts with awareness, as we know. And especially if self-sabotage is really sneaky. Like sometimes we're fully into the pattern of self-sabotage until we're like, oh, I'm doing it again. I'm here again. And it tends to, once we see it as a pattern that's showing up a lot, and not just in business, in relationships, in ourselves and our own self-care. How we're looking after ourselves tends to be how we are in business as well. It's the same patterns across life. So the S is very much around seeing the pattern, witnessing it. And as I come from a very soulful perspective, it's almost like compassionately being that soulful self, looking at your mind and your nervous system as this kind of bird's eye view, right? Because you are not the self-sabotage. Like you are not what your mind and your nervous system is programmed for. There's this limitlessness that we're connected to truly. The A is around anchoring safety in the body. So it's very much the regulation piece. And I think it's so important to regulate yourself before you rewrite anything in the mind and the body. We need to feel safe. We need to feel grounded. Self-sabotage tends to be, I see a lot of clients in freeze, right? Because the pattern is just so common. There's this disassociation, this freeze, right? It's almost like, what's the point in trying energy? Especially by the time they come to me for support, right? They've really got themselves deep in a freeze. Be a functional freeze, they're still working with clients, but they're operating at a level and there's just a freeze of going beyond that. The A is very much anchoring safety in the body, regulating yourself, and that is the grounding, the breath work, the tapping, just those micro moments. Again, they're not big things, they're just really micro moments to bring safety in. The F is around freeing the subconscious. So this is very much the work we do with the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Very much understanding and releasing the old beliefs, that they're releasing the, I call them blocks, but you're not blocked. It's just this kind of energetic ball that's blocking your worthiness, right? All of these beliefs that are tangled up, telling you you're one thing, releasing those, rewriting your story, rewriting who you are, like elevating that identity. Then,
Mm.
as I said, the ease, the embodiment,
Yeah.
actually showing up, being that version of you. And it's so much more easier to embody when you're regulated, when you're aware of the signs and the patterns so you can interrupt it, and when you've rewritten what's in your, so you've reprogrammed your mind. So it's getting the mind, the body, and the energy on board so that you can elevate that you're normal.
And so is that the framework you use to help your clients to really slay the sabotage?
Yeah.
Love
And
that.
sometimes it's like deeper work, as we know, some clients need more of the subconscious healing. Some actually have done that work already and they need support with the embodiment, like the consistency. And again, it always comes back to the identity. How you see yourself is how you show up in the world. And sometimes people just need a reminder of how amazing and limitless they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And this goes for everyone, doesn't it? Like obviously it does, it's not just for business owners, but anyone who's juggling a career, who's in the thick of parenting or maybe having relationship struggles and noticing that they are, I don't know, sabotaging. I love what you said earlier about the relationship piece, because there's definitely been moments in my marriage, especially when the kids were really young, where I feel like I would deliberately pick an argument at a certain point in my cycle. And it was like, it was my way of trying to get my husband to support more and do more at home, but I was going about it in a really negative and not helpful way. And then once I started having the awareness, it's like, okay, how can I actually do this better? And I guess the hardest bit is actually making the change. It's like, I've got the awareness, I want to change this, but making the change can be really hard. So yeah, that's why the subconscious piece is really important, isn't it?
And I feel that because it's really sneaky, the self-sabotage. And that is just the umbrella word for what's going on. As we know, it's so nuanced within of how it shows up in relationships with yourself. And I actually uncovered one a couple of months ago, and it was, I don't know, we all do the work on ourselves, don't we, as mindset coach. When you discover a new thing about yourself that you've never noticed before, it's like crazy of like, how have I never noticed this about myself before?
Yeah.
But I had this part of myself where I'm solo parenting. I had this victim energy within me where I needed people to feel sorry for me. And I was looking for everyone to say, Becky, you've got it so hard right now. Becky, how are you doing it? Oh my God, Becky, like, are you just surviving? Yet when people said it to me, I'd be like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I was looking for it, but I didn't want to hear it. And it happened one day where I'm very hyper independent. Like part of my stories, like from a young age, I just kind of got on with life.
Yeah.
Really like seek support from my parents. It was definitely hyper independence as like a coping mechanism.
Mhm.
So like a lot of people just let me get on with things. And yet I was like, hello, like I'm in a really tough situation right now. And
Yeah.
it was just so beautiful for me to like be this witness, that first S of like see the pattern. It was like, I'm looking for people to feel sorry for myself. But do I want people to feel sorry for me? Like knowing like what I stand for and how I embody and like the work I do. Why do I want people to feel sorry for me? And it was like this beautiful like unwinding of getting to the root of, if people feel sorry for me, I've got an excuse not to go harder or go for what I want. It was
Mm.
like the ultimate excuse of, my husband's away. I get to like stay safe and not try too hard. It was
Mm.
really, really interesting. And it was like, actually, that's not true at all. It was just my unconscious was like finding this new nuanced story to grab onto and bring me like this thermostat back down to normal, this normal. It is really, really interesting. And I think it showed up in all these ways. And I call myself the call out coach because we all need that mirror.
Yeah.
Luckily, as mindset coaches, I feel that we are doing a lot of self-awareness ourselves.
Totally.
It still was, months, and like I hadn't noticed it for months and it was playing out. Right. It took me a while to get there. And I think we all need that mirror of someone to be like, look at this pattern that's showing up for you. And then once you have that awareness, you can go through the safe method to actually release its hold on you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I can so relate to that myself. I'm very much hyper independent, always have been, and I was from a young age, and it probably stems back to my parents' divorce and having to be like just yeah, getting on with things, I guess. And I did a bit of parenting them for a while when they were going through just a real horrible stage of their lives. And I think it all comes back to a lot of that part of my life. So I have to find this real curiosity when I'm being hyper independent. And yeah, when you mentioned that there, I was thinking back to when I was a new mum, and I definitely had a similar kind of thing going on, and of like being a victim and really desperately wanting the help. But for me, people when people offered the help, I definitely wanted it, but I wanted to be in control of the type of help. It's like, okay, I want that help, but I don't really want them to come and stay for like 2 days, because that means then I've got to do that. And, it just kept, I was in this like victim cycle, and but I definitely found it hard to let go of a lot of control. I was a very controlling new mum, I think. There was a lot of OCD tendencies and things like that I'm kind of reflecting on these days as my kids are older now. I think back and I'm like, wow, I did not know that at the time, but now I can look back and there's so much that I'm aware of. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. And I think we all have that, don't we? Like, and I don't know whether you had this as well, but I feel like as a new mum, you almost want to do the opposite of like your own experience. I
Yes.
don't know, I think universal, not the opposite, because that's discrediting what my parents did. But there's a lot of things where, know better, do better. Like as a mindset coach, we do the work of subconscious work, and it always goes back to childhood.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but it always goes back to school for a lot of my clients.
Yes. Yes. Same here.
A lot of in the womb, a lot of maternal and ancestral beliefs and things. So I feel like there's something I had to work on, was the pressure I put on myself to be this perfect mum, because I do know better. And I know the influence of what I'm doing on my little boy. So like something I had to like, and that is control, right? It comes back to control. And something I've had to really like lessen in is actually my only job is to love him and care for him, right? He doesn't need all the song and dance of it. He's just going to remember how secure and safe and loved he is. And I remember I'm going to probably cry a lot these days.
Don't worry, I cry all the time. I'm a crier.
I remember there was a time, and I think my husband was away at this, but he was going through a sleep, I call it progression rather than regression, a sleep progression. And he was in my arms and he just wasn't sleeping. And in my head, I was like, this is so hard. I'm not going to sleep. All of these things like, oh no, what's this going to do to his nervous system? Like all of these things. And then it just dropped in. I had this mantra of just, what a gift that I can just be there with him. He's going through something. I don't fully know what it is, because we never do. Do we have to let go of like trying to know what it is that they're going through?
Yeah.
And I was like, what a gift that I'm just his mum that loves him and I'm holding him. And I'm going to cry. He's so safe with me.
That's
And I was like,
lovely.
that's just the nicest thing you can do for
Yeah.
every mum, in my opinion. Um, and I think it stems back because I have a particular belief where I felt deserted, and I felt, wasn't neglect, but it felt neglectful for me as a young girl. And I think that's where my hyper independence came from, right? If you're not going to look after me, I can only trust myself. I have to look after myself. And it's that I'm like changing that belief system for my boy, that he's so safe with us.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's not
That's really,
to let go of perfect, like I'm not perfect.
yeah.
But we love that.
Oh, it sounds like we've had some similar kind of traits and similar, because I had some IFS therapy a couple of years ago, and that came up for me, the neglect. And like you said, it wasn't neglect, it felt like neglect, and very, very similar kind of thing. But yeah, beautiful that you recognized that in the moment, and that you told yourself, what a gift I'm able, and because that's a real release, isn't it? And sometimes when you have those moments in parenting where you can sort of have a realization in your mind and reframe it, sometimes the crying can stop instantly because they feel that energy. And I don't know if that happened in that moment, but when I speak to parent mums who are going through similar things, or like issues with toddlers or kids not sleeping, sometimes we go through the energy work, and it will be like, look, sometimes you just got to accept. And I'm not saying just accept and you'll be fine, but when you do learn to accept and sometimes just have a real like kind of reframe, or something falls into place within your mind, a kid senses it. And that's what's beautiful about the energy between a parent and a child. It can be sensed, and it's lovely, isn't it?
Definitely. And I tell my friends all the time, like it sometimes is really creepy. I know I believe in all the energy, but like, they feel the tension, they feel the physical energy as well.
Mm.
Um, but there's so many times when I'm looking at the monitor and I'd be like, oh, he's asleep. And in that moment he wakes up. And it's like, so there's an energetic connection between you and your children that
Yeah.
you can see or understand. So like now if I look at the monitor, I'm like, sleeps like Reiki the like a crazy lady, like Reiki the screen, like sleep, 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 sleep. But I do feel there's like so much there. And like, yes, on a physical level when you're holding them, but I'm definitely like 10 months in can see there's a energetic connection more than you can ever understand.
Yeah, which is beautiful when you get to learn about that, and when you dive into that, I think it's beautiful as a parent. Yeah, lovely. Can we talk really quickly about Reiki? I know that you have studied Reiki, but I noticed that you do galactic Reiki. Tell me, what is galactic Reiki? I'm intrigued.
So galactic Reiki is working with really like beings around the galactic universe. So Reiki usually is kind of tapping into Reiki energy, and that's what you're healing the body with the chakras. Galactic Reiki is working with like multi-dimensional beings. Obviously, I don't necessarily share that with clients, but it's working with like the highest of energies, and it's just the most powerful energy healing that I've ever experienced myself and for clients.
Amazing.
I even did like self-healing the day that I gave birth, and I just had the most magical, because I feel like I was so regulated, my chakras were all like in a really beautiful place, and I just had the most beautiful 24 hours. So it's kind of working with, it's whatever you believe in really, but those kind of multi-dimensional beings.
Yeah. I did something recently where I looked into, obviously, I know about star seeds, but I didn't really know much about it. And I found out that apparently I am an Arcturian, and then I did a load of, obviously, went down a rabbit hole with finding out, like, what's an Arcturian? And I honestly read so much about it. So apparently that's where I'm from. And yeah, do you know what you are?
I had looked at, I don't go too far in the star seeds, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I
I don't
feel
know enough about it, but
I can't remember what I was. Because on the galactic training, we all looked into our star seeds.
okay.
I don't know. I'm really cautious of labels.
Mm,
Which is I think again why I don't go down the ADHD route. I'm just, for me personally, I understand why people use it, to help their identity, but I'm really cautious of like protective of how I see myself.
yeah.
I think when I first discovered about ADHD, then I very much was just hyper focused how the brain works, right? It's focused on all the ways that I'm ADHDing. And then what you focus on, you create more of. And I noticed that my symptoms were getting worse and worse and worse. So for me personally, like same with like starseed, like I can get very obsessed. And so I kind of like choose to just have this awareness and then not get too attached personally. And like I definitely did find out what I was, but I chose to kind of then like leave it there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Curious, and I'm like, oh, let's leave it there.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. And I agree with you about the label. I think that's why I would probably never get a diagnosis. Well, at this stage in time, I'm like, I don't know if I really, because I know my traits, I know how to manage them. And that's sort of all I need to know. And when it comes to parenting, with my eldest, like I mentioned, I know how to manage him and ensure that he has, not too many extracurricular activities throughout the week, because it will drain him. And it's just knowing how to manage it. But unless, and we're all on some sort of spectrum, aren't we? So it's sometimes not needed. Yeah, like I agree with what you're saying. I think for some people it can be really helpful, and it's each to their own. Oh my gosh, I feel like I've got so many questions. You do tarot as well, don't you? I need to go and buy myself some tarot cards, because I've had, people support me, and I've had like readings, and they've been really, really helpful. And I love looking out for signs, and I am definitely quite woo-woo. But the tarot thing's great. I'd love to learn a bit more about that. Do you have any cards on you now? Put you on the
I
spot.
don't have the tarot, but I've got some oracle. The reason I love tarot is because for me, it's like psychology. It's like the subconscious. And so when I do readings for people, it's a mirror. It is just this mirror of exactly what they're going through. But they tend to be like longer readings, if you know what I mean. Like one card doesn't necessarily tell the whole story.
Yeah.
But with oracle cards, I feel like it's more where that's like a mirror and a reflection. The oracle cards, I feel, are more around like the higher self possibility. So they
Mm.
got different purposes, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
And so I love to, whenever I do one-to-one calls with clients, like I always pull an oracle card and I pull it before we start a call and it's exactly what they're going through. It's so interesting. Do you
Mm.
play with oracle cards as well?
No, I don't have any cards of any sort, but I would love to. Like, how does it work? Do you have to have training for it? Like, I really don't know anything about it. I've had, like I said, I've had people pull cards for me, but I don't know how any of it works.
Tarot, yes, you can do trading, but there's more cards and there's more like symbolism and meaning behind each of them. And so there's almost, it's about a journey. So
Mhm.
like you kind of do need to understand what all of the cards mean. But also like for me, when I'm doing tarot, I'm channeling. I connect into like galactic Reiki and I'm like connecting, and I've done psychic channeling training as well. So I'm like connecting in with your aura. So it's very much uh it's it's connecting into that person where they're at and where they're going.
Mm.
Whereas Oracle, I don't believe you need training. It's purely you can just say, what do I need to know? And it's a card and it will be, we can pull you one now if you want and see if it's
Oh, that would be amazing.
yeah, maybe like tune into a question. You don't need to share it. Just ask yourself something that you'd like to know.
Okay, have a little think. Yeah, okay. Got a question in my head.
Usually when I do this, like one card that flies out. Let's see what I get. Okay. So you got the void here.
Oh my goodness, that
And
looks very
this,
dark.
yeah, this usually it says stop, embrace winter, great cosmic womb. But this card tends to come up for clients when it's calling for spaciousness. Maybe there's like a pushing, a forcing energy, or like pushing to find clarity. And this card is almost like the more you're in this kind of cosmic void, this spaciousness, the answers come. That
Okay.
relates to what you were asking.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah. Interesting. I'm just thinking I want to write this down, but I'm just going to obviously listen back and take notes because, yeah, that does really, really help with what the question that I had. So, yeah, thank you.
And the cards were like every time, like I remember there was one client when I pulled a card and it was around it was like a real sexual card. And I was like, oh, what's gonna like we don't ever talk about that. Like I don't understand like what's gonna come up. She came onto the call and that's exactly what she wanted to speak through. Every time it's like this is where like my belief in like this spiritual realm like grows and grows and grows through coaching because with like the psychic channeling and like with all the work, like I'm shown just how connected we all are and how like magical this world is. Yeah, out of our own way.
Yeah.
There is a self-sabotage. It's just that our mind and our bodies are just calibrated on a different level to what we want. But as soon as we do this work, like I had so many times where clients, we have a session and they're like, oh, I just got a new client. Oh, I've just had this like book deal, like this publisher come into my inbox. It's almost like that's why I love doing it with the energy because your mind and your body is just kind of blocking all of the energetic possibilities that are coming your way.
And it's kind of letting go of the control. Like sometimes you specifically want something to come into your life, but you're very specific with like what you want to manifest. But actually, if you let go of the details and the how, especially the how, the universe has got its own plan, and the thing that come like may come in could be 10 times more exciting and more abundant than the thing that you've got in mind. So yeah, it's just letting go of that kind of control, isn't it? Oh, I love all of this. Honestly, I could talk like the rest of the day about all of this. Thank you, Becky. Let me know a bit. Oh, I do have one final question, actually, which is something, I have a choice of two that I ask people at the end of every episode. And so I want to ask you, what supportive words would you give to 6-year-old Becky today?
Oh, I just heard like have fun, play. Yeah, just
Love that.
and I feel that's what we're all kind of getting back into, right? I was say nearly 40. I don't like the label of that. I'm late 30s.
Yeah.
I'm late 30s. And it's just, I'm learning how to have fun and play in life again. And I want
That's
to encourage little 6-year-old Becky, just have fun, play, explore, be curious.
Yes, that's such a great answer because you're also going to be entering the years of playfulness, especially with Bode. Like as he gets into the toddler phase, it's all about embracing play. It's all about like not having to just say no, no, no all the time to everything because, that's literally just allows them to kick off even more. It's like getting rid of those constraints and restraints and just inviting play with like all parts of your parenting, but also in your business. And yeah, that's such a good answer. I love that. Okay, let us know about your voice note coach. I know you've got there's various ways to work with you, and we'll talk about your handles and your Instagram, your website in a minute. But voice note coaching, you are promoting that at the moment. Let the listeners know a little bit more about that. What is it?
Yeah, so voice note coaching is essentially helping people with this self-sabotage safe framework. It's helping in the moment because what I would find is that we'd have one session with clients, which is powerful to do the deeper work, but then the embodiment, the noticing the patterns tend to would then come back into like the focus for the client. So 1 month of voice note coaching is a way to really slay the sabotage because you've got me in your pocket doing the deeper work, but also noticing the pattern, changing the pattern, supporting with embodiment, taking the action. And in the moment when you feel yourself coming back into the pattern, you've got me to guide you back. And what happens is the more experience you have of being guided back, you then can start leading yourself. So it's like a real intensive to elevate your way of being and leave the old self-sabotage in the past.
That's such a good idea because sometimes in the moment you're like, oh, that's just come to me, but then you might not remember it. Like if someone was going to have a call with you or something's booked in for next week, it's like you want to be able to talk to someone in the moment and get that coaching in the moment. So, yeah, such a great idea. Oh, I love that. And so where can people find you on Instagram and what's your website?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Becky Stanton _ mindset coach and Becky Stanton.
Fabulous. Oh, thank you, Becky. It's so nice to chat. And it's really lovely talking about all sorts of things, from the parenting, new mum life to the self-sabotage to the kind of spiritual stuff. But yeah, I love what you do because you really do kind of dive into as I was saying, like the energetics and the woo-woo stuff is so important. And I think people kind of view it. So I hate even using the term woo-woo because I just think that it's part of everyone's life and we need to stop kind of almost viewing it as like this crazy thing because it is not. It is just part of the universe. It's like energy is everywhere. We are energy. We're these balls of energy in human form. And so I love that you've just integrated that into your work. And I think it's wonderful what you do. So thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, we'll catch up soon. We must go to a cafe and have our brunch soon.
Thank you, my love.
All right, take care.